Welcome to an HVAC ADHD moment with Jeremy Begley.
Hey everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Energy Star for Homes pressure balancing test, and specifically in multifamily. But this test is done in single family homes and multifamily homes alike through Energy Star. Um, what it is a test to measure, to make sure, I should say, it's a test to make sure that the air being supplied to a room with a closed door, typically a bedroom, is being returned in its full volume back to the air handler to be filtered and conditioned and returned back to the room again. And that's a cycle of conditioning through a forced air system that we see over and over again. As you can see in the diagram to the left provided by the EPA, there's three main ways to accomplish to make sure that this happens. One is to have a direct through the wall grill, hopefully baffled in between for sound attenuation. You could do a high-low strategy also to cut down on the sound attenuation, and then you're going to have a central return either on the air handler itself or out in the hallway somewhere that is going to return the air that's moving from the room through the grill out into the hall back to the system. Uh, a different method that's similar to that, and some prefer to that because it really does cut down on the noise even more between bedroom noise and to the hallway, is using what's called a jumper duct. When we have a central return strategy, is what you see there, where there's a duct that jumps from the hallway into the room and allows the transfer of air in essentially the same way that the pass-through grill did, only it moves through a closed duct, and there's less chance for sound movement and things like that. The other way is the way that we're all familiar with. That's to provide a properly sized dedicated return to the room so the air can be sucked back to the system itself. The best way to demonstrate what happens when this isn't correct is with a common straw, drinking straw. You see here, if you imagine that your mouth is the air handler, it's the fan blowing the air into the ductwork and then into the room. Imagine that the room or the home is the straw the air is getting forced into, and as long as we have an opening for it to exit that room on the end, every bit of that air that we blow through that straw returns out into the open space, which we can imagine this return. And at the end of the straw is the hallway, and then the return, the air all makes it back into the system, or the air handler with the return on it, the air all makes it back straight into the air handler that way. The minute that we start restricting this flow with our finger, two things happen. It becomes harder to blow on the straw because there's more restriction. It's putting back pressure on us. Same thing happens in the duct system. That's why if there's a restriction or something like that, kink ducts, the pressure in the system goes up, the static pressure goes up, and to the point where it can start causing problems, failures in the system, things like that. The other thing that happens is that room is not going to be comfortable, and it's going to have moisture problems because moisture is going to get forced backwards into the building assembly instead of actually exiting the room back into the system like it should and being dehumidified and put back out into the home. And then also too, none of the hot or cold air that needs to get out of the room to be reconditioned so that the nice cool or warm air can be put back in the room is leaving that room, so it makes it harder to condition that room as well. Because you can see from our straw demo, even if we partially block this, sure, some of the air is getting back, but it's still hard on us to blow through the straw, and you can tell not as much air is making it out. As soon as we remove that restriction, we have enough free area for the air to literally move freely through the straw. So that's how that works. So we, as energy raters and also HVAC contractors, should know this test. Unfortunately, a lot of the ones we run into don't even understand the test. They're not really testing airflow, and that's why they're having these failures out in the field. We will just use a simple manometer. We'll put a hose under the door, and then as you guys can see, Energy Star, and these are pretty standard metrics that Energy Star uses. Energy Star tells us that the bedroom, the difference between the bedroom and the hallway, or the bedroom and the rest of the house, should be less than 3 pascals. And then if we look at the footnote, it goes on to tell us also that if there's a larger volume of air, if it's over 150 CFM that's being supplied to the air, then the limit can be 5 pascals instead of 3. And I can tell you I've done this test hundreds of times, and it is a very effective test to make sure that there's enough return air, and you can diagnose problems on the other end using this test as well. And when I say the other man, I mean existing homes that have comfort problems to the extent that there's a lot of our high performance guys out there now starting to talk about this test a lot more. I could call some guys out by name in the high performance HVAC industry, which, by the way, when we say high performance HVAC, we just mean a bunch of guys that care about better HVAC and held themselves accountable. Sorry about all that. Held themselves accountable to standards and best practices in the industry. And a couple of these guys I know for sure that are doing this test out in the field because I've seen them talk about it in their own videos is Gentry Garcia and Tim DeStasio. Those guys have explained thoroughly on the HVAC side how this test can be used. You even have guys like Chris Hughes, who now works for Energy Conservatory, who helped create the Roomulator, which is a little guide that basically will let you, let's see, I have a picture of it here somewhere. Yep, Roomulator. It'll let you back into figuring out what's going on, why a bedroom is not getting the air that it needs, and how much. It actually does two specific things. It will allow you to know the opening that you still need to provide the proper amount of air, the proper amount of air that you still need to provide, and the methodology that is best used to provide the rest of that air. So it's a really, for $5, it's a tool that you can't really afford not to have in your toolkit if you're an HVAC contractor. Even if you're an energy rater, it's a great tool because in this instance, like the little video I'm about to show you from out in the field of this failure, this is a multifamily job, and so this usually goes back to the engineers and the owners to figure out what the fix is. But a lot of times, as energy raters, and especially in the single family world, we're helping the HVAC contractors figure out the best solutions for some of this stuff. So this is a nice tool to have even for an energy rater in your toolkit to be able to help guys have those conversations when you're getting paid to do so. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video from the field. It was filmed separately, so there'll be a little bit of lack of congruentry, but you will definitely see what I'm talking about here. So let's get into that.
All right, guys, check it out. This is a common failure that we see when we're testing Energy Star multifamily buildings, especially on 3-bedroom units that have a master with a walk-in closet and a bathroom that are both getting served. What happens is this is a central system. It's using central return. Here, I'll show you guys real quick. It's using central return through a door. The strategy, the return air strategy for the bedrooms is pass-through grills. And what happens is the engineers don't account for the air that has to get returned back to the HVAC system from the bathroom supply and the walk-in supply. They only account for this big boy here. And so what ends up happening is these transfer grills are not sized correctly for these master bedrooms. And inevitably, these master bedrooms are beyond the 5 pascal limit for the larger volume of air. For the smaller bedrooms, it's a 3 pascal limit. For these bedrooms with a larger volume of air, it's a 5 pascal limit. But they didn't size the pass-through correctly. As you can see, it's sized exactly the same as the one across the hall for the smaller bedrooms.
Understanding and implementing pressure balancing is not just about compliance. It's about enhancing comfort and efficiency in your HVAC systems. For HVAC professionals, mastering this is essential for delivering top quality service. Thanks for tuning in to this HVAC ADHD moment. Keep pushing the boundaries of what your HVAC system can do, setting standards, not just following them. Stay tuned for more insights and practical tips right here on HVAC ADHD.